So take it away, Dave and Mackie.
Hello and welcome to
Dave
and Mackie's Shiny Side Out on Revolution Radio. Yes, or freedomslips.com or revolution.radio on WZZR. Yes, there's actually a terrestrial station as well, which is
this
awesome.
would be good if you
What?
wrote the whole thing like this.
I can do it. It is home to fresh and unadulterated ideas and conversations.
I said unadulterated.
And a place to get your merch. This is an angry show intro. This is show number 509 and 509. Just try to channel Hitler there, right? 9. The German people will follow me first and after and in the middle. You can catch us on air, online, and on your smart device. So grab an app to listen anyway, or listen at home on Grace Table of Digital Radio.
It actually sounds like the modern, what's it called, modern democracy. That's what it feels like.
Democracy?
Country and state leaders in our democracies sound like that today.
Do we have democracies now?
Yeah. Hey, you know what? If there's anyone in the whole world that knows what it means, Mickey, I swear you have slapped me with a cod. That's an old chat room expression. So many times saying it's an illusion. Democracy is an illusion.
Illusion.
Yeah.
Now, if you missed Solaris' show and she's the lady just that comes on before us, she's awesome. She's a researcher. She is a practitioner. She's an author. She's a videographer. She is an all-around great interviewer and interviewee as well.
And great person.
And a great person, of course. And tonight she was doing the Cyber Witch Cafe, and she had Niche, I hope I'm saying this right, and Montana Jordan, and they were discussing the winter solstice and everything mystical. Now, just very quickly before I finish the intro, this is where we are. The Northern Hemisphere Winter Solstice Festival we are just about to slide into. Now, if you can, and you should, listen to her, but if you missed her show, that's okay, because you can go to the archives for free, gratis, umsonst, with no down payments or after payments for that matter, and you can check out her shows or our shows or any of the hosts' shows that are on the station. It goes back quite a ways. It's really easy to navigate. It's a flat file system, if you know what that means. So it's really, really easy. Now, before we start broadcasting in anger here, we would like to acknowledge the traditional custodians of the land. For Dave,
Dark and Jung.
Thank you. And for myself, it is the Dharuk people. And we like to pay our respects to elders past, present, and future. Thank you for listening.
In Dark and Jung country.
It's nice, right?
Yes.
It's nice. It's nice. It's nice. Yeah, look, hey, big shout out.
Consuela says no.
I want to share a couple of memes before we.
Okay. Yep.
So this is really awesome. So this is a meme, and I go all over the web to find these things. Believe it or not, a lot of them pop up on Facebook, which is hilarious because I hate Facebook. But nonetheless, there we are. This is Winnie the Pooh and Piglet just walking, by the side of the bank,
yes.
some trees. And this is what Winnie the Pooh says to Piglet. You see, Piglet, once the gangsters have killed and robbed their way to power and have kept control for long enough, they then become the establishment and give themselves titles. Welcome to our world, indeed.
Yeah, my explanation. That's almost what happens in real life with me. So someone says, "Oh, really? The government," and I go, "Yeah. You see, all they do is they get into power and then create a concrete bunker around themselves, and then shoot everybody else to try and remain there. That's their whole goal, is to stay in power."
Yes, that's that's it. And look, it took me many years to understand this, and I've known this now for a long time, and Dave, of course, as well. But the single and primary, the primary and almost single reason for the existence of the establishment is to make sure the establishment keeps on existing. The parasites only have one interest, right? Just to stay where they are, to make sure that everything, any change that affects their status, their existence, their privilege, any of those things, that's bad. Change that doesn't, they don't care. Change whatever you like.
That's right.
Yeah, in fact, here's the box, Dave. Here's the box.
Yep.
That change whatever you want in that box, but don't step outside the box, please.
No, that's bad.
Thank you, sir.
Outside the box is bad. Inside the box is good.
Inside the box is good. Can we all repeat this?
Schrodinger's cat of policy change. You can change anything inside the box as long as you don't look at it. And outside...
Stop looking inside the box.
No. So that's really funny. That's really funny. So I like when because I just feel like a commentator. So we look down on the sports field and it's politics today, right? So we're watching all the sides saying and doing things like a sports game. And, their antics disappoint me because Mackie, personally, we've only got, 23 million or thereabouts, right? People in Australia.
26, but yeah, close enough.
Doesn't right?
3 million. We will lose those soon enough. What? Silence.
I'm a futurist. I just traveled back in time where we only have 23 million. So I see the antics where we have this, it's an election year coming up. So suddenly they all become nice to everybody. And they make promises and there's gifts. Only if we get in is there going to be a gift, but it's over 5 years, which exceeds our actual ability to give it to you because it's only a 4-year term. That doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. Right? So as they get nearer to the election, there it is. There's all the gift giving. And then immediately when they get in, they're kind of nice for a little bit. And then they just 180 and turn hideous and do everything that they've always wanted to do that wasn't a policy in the first place. They go against everything they've ever said. Basically, they're a product of their own lies. Now, of all the people in Australia, like, for instance, all the people in the US, those people running the place are not the top of either or many of the silos that I would consider brand appropriate. Like IQ. Nope. No. I would imagine loafers would be complicated things to put on in the morning unless they had help, right? Their knowledge, nope. No, they miss out on that. Oh, there's a nice sound. They miss out on that. They miss out on the IQ. So they're not very smart. They don't know very much at all because they could be. You can have a little bit of some of those. Then their negotiation skills, terrible. Their communication skills, even worse. So if I had to mark them like a school teacher would mark an end of year report for a school kid, it would be doesn't do homework, is usually absent. That's our Prime Minister. But why he's missing him, I think they sent him a Christmas card.
But I'm here. I wish he was here. But I'm I'm standing here right in front of him. I wish he could join us. I miss him so.
Sometimes I feel like our parliament's a seance trying to find intelligent people.
Hey, the board is moving. Uh-oh. It's falling off the table. Okay, forget that.
So, I pity the poor fool who rings me because I actually got called, Mackie, for a survey for politics.
Perfect.
I wish I'd recorded it because it was absolutely they said, well, who are you going to vote for next time? Well, I'm not going to make a choice at the moment. I said, I prefer to see the policies. Oh, well, which person do you think is the most appropriate to rule us?
Oh, really?
Yeah. I said, well, it's a party political system. We don't have a president. Right? And the leader, is actually voted by the party. So it doesn't matter who you'd like to be in. It isn't our responsibility as a citizen. Oh man, they had a hard time with me.
Nice. But the correct answer, of course, is either Pepsi or Mackie. Who should rule us?
Partial credit.
Pepsi, right? Okay.
Anyway, that was really funny. So, look, I do pity the poor fool who rings me about it because Mackie, I can imagine them calling you.
Dude, I had moments coming to my house. I think they're no longer coming to my suburb.
They've just drawn a circle because they've got a map, right? They've got a map with little crosses and ticks, and you'll end up getting something in the mail, right?
Yeah.
And I remember sitting in Lewisham when I lived in Lewisham. I sat there, beautiful house on the boulevard, it's called. Beautiful house, and they would walk past, and I'd just be sitting out there, right? And they'd come and chat to me for a while. I'd come and take a seat on the stairs and tell me everything that you know about your religion. Right? And then when they finished, Belinda would, my partner, she'd come out and go, well, would you like a cup of tea? Yeah. Would you like a cup of tea? Yeah, cool. So Belinda would come out and give me a cup of tea, and our guest a cup of tea, the poor guest. And the moment they took a sip, it's about time to start with the aliens.
Start your engines, please. Contestant number 2.
So how do you feel about aliens? Yeah. Okay.
They take my job, I think. Right?
Yeah, not the illegal aliens, but more about life in the universe. How do you feel about that? Well, God. Okay, here we go. No, wrong answer. Have to mark you down on that one.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
But look, they're asking for it. I mean, if someone comes to your house and says, "Hey, can I talk to you about X, Y, and Z?" And I say, "Yes, you can. But in exchange, I can talk about whatever I like." Agree?
That's right.
And that's the social contract we then have, and they have to stick around until I'm finished.
When it gets uncomfortable.
And I know now I can talk for 4 hours on end.
That's true. You can, Mickey.
So can Dave. We have tested this. And I say good luck to you guys. Look, I invite anyone to come over here and just have a conversation. I love it. And again, the thing is this, Dave, and I'll be honest, I'll be perfectly honest here with everybody. I don't care what anyone believes or doesn't believe. It's not my concern at all. No. However, what I hate, I really do dislike it, I loathe it in fact, is when someone talks about something they don't understand or don't know.
That's right.
So you can talk about whatever you like as long as you know what you're talking about. I got no issue with that at all. Perfect, right? Good. And in fact, I might learn something, so good for me. But if you start sprouting about all kinds of things, then it becomes clear to me you clearly don't know what you're talking about. Then get ready for the shredder, because the thing is this: the problem that we have in the world at large is this. I mean, there are many other problems, but one of the main problems we have, Dave, and my esteemed listenership as well. Here, I want to talk to you guys. You are clearly not in that category because you've chosen to listen to our show here, right, Dave? Dave and Mackie's Shiny Side Out. But a lot of people go out there into the world and they start just talk, blah, 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 blah. But anything. They're specialists. They know everything. They're armchair specialists. They've seen a post on the internet, or they've listened to Tyson DeGrassi, Neil, whatever his name is.
Yeah, or they've read the title of a newspaper article.
Yes. And then they go, for extraordinary claims, you need extraordinary evidence. The dinosaur bones are old because God made them, though. So all of those things, because you cannot have a position if you do not understand it. If you don't understand the position you're defending, you can't.
That's right.
And you're just blah blahing and creating hot air, and that's good for no one, especially you.
It's the same way as you could describe the poor person. And look, I have to say, Mackie, that you and I, we're not rude to these people at all.
No.
I don't make them feel awful or belittle them. Their information is theirs. That's good. And I do like listening to an opinion.
Yeah.
That's based with a lot of background. Not something shallow, not just throwing something out there and hoping for the best. It's going to stick. But then, having said that, I do feel for a person of a particular persuasion that's attracted to something that has more holes than a cheese grater, trying to explain why I should believe in the thing that they believe in. That's really hard.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I like you said, they don't know why they're trying to defend it, or they're trying to sell the idea. But you know what? I think their approach is pretty good. They're gonna find the same sheeple that the media prey on every day. They're gonna find the same percentage of those people out there. Right? And it's gonna be easy. They're easy gets. Seriously. They would be able to identify us from space. Mackie, serious, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I used to get a Christmas card every year, even though I moved from Jews for Jesus.
I'm sorry.
I know. Well,
I
have to say this, right? I have to say, let
yeah, go on, please.
My first point with the person representing that, let's call it organization, for want of a better word, because I don't believe it's entirely a religion. I think, and as you've heard what happened, right? Okay, yeah, sure, you've heard what happened to Jesus, right? According to all the other stories. Not saying they're all right, but so how is yours different? Oh, we kind of sympathize for him, I suppose. Yeah, and I used to get a Christmas card. Now, they kind of stopped, so I don't know whether the person just ended up dying of loneliness, right? Or what happened. Maybe they died of COVID. I'm not sure. I just stopped getting Christmas cards. But look, if it kind of felt like that moment where Rowan Atkinson is the devil, introducing all the new recruits to hell. It was very funny. If you're not aware of it, it's on YouTube, and he segregates everybody into different religions and then tells them who was right. It's very, very funny. Scene. And someone want to go to the toilet, and he goes, "Well, I'm sorry, this is damnation without relief. There are no toilets."
But we have dependables.
Well, yeah, no.
Those are adult diapers.
Yeah, that's right.
It's not. We don't know that it's not funny. Now it's not funny because I explained it, so the joke is gone. Oh, what do you know from funny?
What do you know from funny? Anyway, look, it was very funny. It was indeed. Look, I feel sorry for people who are beating the drum for something that is extremely difficult to connect with. Now, I see this in the conspiracy world a lot. There's a lot of people who have a lot of chasms to jump to get to where they're standing. And I don't mean like stepping stones where they're all quite clear and very easy to follow. I mean like, I would have to make something up that would be completely ridiculous. If I said, I don't know, it's very hard for me, Mackie, to try and come up with something. Just say, all humans were living on an alien spaceship, and we didn't know it.
Shh! Don't tell them.
We
talked about that.
We talked about it. Yeah. That's what we won't. Okay, that's what we didn't. We're not supposed to talk about, right? But if someone was trying to convince me of it, I think there would be a lot of holes in that story, or that we're all inside one big spaceship. Great, all right, fantastic. So have you spoken to the warden? Have you? How did you get this data? Yeah. Do you think I can get some favors?
I got some smokes.
I like some fireworks. That'd be great. But anyway, look, I'm going to hand it back to you, Mackie, because that's all I've got. It's very tough. It's very, very tough to hear. It's like the 5G and the vaccines. That's been a tough one too. I let people have it, but I don't believe in it at all.
And look, again, that's the whole point, really, right? Belief is I mean, it's what it is. It's a belief. You can't really prove it. If you could prove it, it wouldn't be a belief. It would just be a statement.
Yeah, that's right. Yes.
And that's really the point of it. But just for a second to come back to the Jews for Jesus, I knew quite a few of them at uni, which was really funny. So what does that mean? Well. And to be honest, they actually know quite a bit of the stuff that went on. They go, well, clearly Yeshua, or Yeshu, which was his real name, I guess, came to reform Judaism, right? But we didn't like it, or the Pharisees didn't like it, and they adopted him in, and the Romans nailed him to a cross. End of story. And now we think that was a mistake. And maybe he had something on, right? So the funny thing is this, though, right? All the teachings that Jesus brought with him when he came back from where he went, he was gone for like over 10 years, like 18 years almost, right? From the age of 12. Yeah, well, India, he could have traveled further east potentially. I mean, we don't know, but he brought back teachings of Buddhism and Hinduism, right?
Mm-hmm.
And in fact, the Cathars, as we spoke about them quite a bit recently, are considered the Buddhists. Sorry, the Christians. Sorry, they're considered the Buddhists or the Taoists of the West, right? Because of the way they believe and what they believed. And then we all love the leader, but just in case you're wondering, I am the leader. Yes, that's correct. No, to be honest with you, if Dave and I were given the mandate to run Australia, as it were,
mm-hmm.
I think between the two of us and advisors and friends, etc., that we have, people that know different things, because we know many people, we would be doing a much better job.
Yeah.
Than the current politicians, at least in Australia, right? At least in Australia. And look, there are countries that are run well, there are countries that are run very poorly. But so look, there was another meme I wanted to share with you guys. Excuse me.
Please.
And it's more than a meme, it's really interesting. So this is physics, right? History of physics. Aristotle said a bunch of stuff that was wrong. Galileo and Newton fixed things up. Then Einstein broke everything again. Now we've basically got it all worked out. Except for small stuff, big stuff, hot stuff, cold stuff, fast stuff, heavy stuff, dark stuff, turbulence, and the concept of time. But everything else, we've got completely worked out. Look, this is where we are, right? I mean, a lot of people like to be experts, and it is comforting to be the go-to guy. So both Dave and I, in our careers, have been the go-to guys because we're in IT, etc., and we would go and fix issues. In fact, that's how Dave and I first met. He was the senior technician on site, and if something we couldn't fix, then we just go to Dave. And then in my career, I moved along different things, and I became a more senior person in my little area. And then people would come to me and say, "Hey, how do we do this?" And it feels good. It feels good to be the guy or the girl that people come to.
Go to, yeah.
Right? It does feel good. It really does feel good. And ultimately, we all like to be respected and recognized for our achievements. It's a nice thing. A lot of people, though, like to hang on to too much, right? And they can't accept it when they're wrong, or when what they've built their reputation upon crumbles to dust, is no longer there. And that's really the issue that we're facing here with many things. People are holding on to their belief systems because that's what they've become. They're no longer facts. So if you're the go-to person, then you've got a whole bunch of facts which will help rectify any given situation. Once those go, you have beliefs. Well, I believe you should do this. Hey, whenever someone says this to me, go, you don't know? You think this is what we should do? No experience before? And that's really the issue, right? So we can't do that. But you know what's funny? I'll tell you what's funny. Ghislaine Maxwell's court case, it's now pretty much done. And
the defense rests.
The defense rests, and why? Because Ghislaine Maxwell has rested her sex trafficking case after calling the prosecution's arguments against her unproven and declining to testify.
That's right.
I will say nothing. Now, this is really quite amazing. Now,
she can't undergo cross-examination.
Exactly. Now, you know what's interesting, though? This is actually off the BBC website. So this is mainstream media. I want to read this to you. And I want you to listen very, very carefully. This is the same article talking about Ghislaine Maxwell, right? Here we go. She was, the partner of Epstein, blah, blah, blah. And she's accused of, manipulating and bringing young girls to him, etc., etc. And then it says this, and I'm reading this word for word. Epstein died in a jail cell in 2019 while awaiting trial on federal sex trafficking charges. His death was ruled a suicide. No. But
I know.
They're not saying Epstein suicided in a jail cell in 2019. They're not saying that. They're saying he died in a jail cell, and then they're saying his death was ruled a suicide, because not even the mainstream media can any longer, with a straight face, say that Epstein committed suicide. And this is a huge shift from the initial reporting that we all got.
Yeah, that's right.
And and he didn't. I mean, the bone that was broken in his neck couldn't have been broken in the way that they said it was. It's physically impossible, right? So the mainstream media is now going there as well. Now, you know what that means to me is what it means to me is that someone is going to be sacrificed for this whole show. So Ghislaine Maxwell is still alive for now, but some high-ranking Prince Andrew, who knows, some high-ranking members of society are going to fall here. That's what's going to happen.
If they can't get her,
then
they'll do the edges, right?
Yeah. I think reading between the lines and everything that's gone on so far, because they would have done that already. Everything that has gone on, she should have been killed already, but she wasn't. And I think the decision was made, to, expose some of the parasites, to sacrifice them for the greater good of the parasites, as it were, right? Then people feel good. Because it is now so big, the whole thing, that denial of it is complete nonsense. Prince Andrew, no one believes that he wasn't involved in any way. Everybody's seen the picture, everybody's seen the testimony of the butler, and et cetera, et cetera. So we've gone through all of that, right? So in my mind, he could be a sacrificial lamb, right? He's already been removed from all royal duties. And maybe a couple others. Now, Weinstein is already in jail.
Yeah.
They can hang some blame on him. So I think she may very well survive all of this, and some of the higher echelon types might take the fall for the wider. And this is a massive network. Make no mistake.
All of those, Mickey, you're right, but all of those people who flew on the jet went to the island, went to his place in New York, right?
Yes.
All of those people would have seen something.
Yeah.
So who are they willing to throw under the bus? And
bingo.
Who has the tapes?
Yes. Correct.
Why have so many of those people named on the flight log not been interviewed or have a case against them?
Or subpoena.
That's a big a subpoena. Why have they not been? And I'm not going to mention any of the names.
No.
But the flight logs, I think, gave away a lot more information than the people were willing to accept.
Yeah.
And I think that's where we should be looking. Certainly, if I was the police chief, given this case, or the FBI, I'd be looking at all of it if I wasn't owned.
Now see, this is where it gets interesting, right?
Mm-hmm.
So we discussed this many times before. There's several sets of rules for several sets of different people.
Yeah.
And all of us mostly fall under the you
mostly people.
You better follow all the rules we think up for you, buddy boy. And of course these people do not fall under those rules at all, right?
It just depends on who has the tapes.
Well, this is there's a complicating factor here, which people and no one has spoken about this at all. Now, I noticed because obviously I did a bit of research into it. I'm sure you know as well.
They'll all have been deleted by now, anyway, right?
Possibly.
Accidentally by the FBI while they watched them.
Not the FBI.
Oh,
so there's a school of thought out there that stipulated that Epstein was actually working for the Israelis. Okay, and do you know how Epstein came into his money?
He was gifted.
No, he was a complete. No, he was a smart enough guy, but he had a relationship with a really, really, really rich dude, and the story is that he actually stole from that really, really rich dude. So they were in a homosexual relationship, right? That guy's still alive. I forget his name now, but that's how he got his start.
Probably good for the show that we don't mention it.
No mention him, okay. And that's how he got his cash. And that's how he got started. And that's how he met all of those people, through that guy, right? And there's a very strong case that the Mossad or some other Israeli agency potentially, put him up to it, as it were, to gather as much incriminating information as possible. So the thing is this, guys, right? I don't know if you know this, but in Australia, if you want to work on a government contract or in Canberra or whatever, you have to go through a vetting process. So they have to, check your security credentials. They have to check that you haven't, I don't know, that you can't be compromised. Essentially, that's what the test is about. It's a process, right? And why is that important? Well, the thing is this: now, you might be gay, or you might be having an affair, or you might you might like cocaine, or whatever it might be. But you have these vices, right? Now, if you're open about it, okay, if you do all these things, but you're open about it, no one can really blackmail you.
That's right. Because the government knows about it.
Yeah. Okay.
Well,
And but if there are skeletons in your closet that you do not wish out, right? All of a sudden, become vulnerable, right? And if you go into a position of power and a position of privilege where you get information, that is quite sensitive, then a foreign power, a foreign actor, or anyone really for the matter, could apply pressure and get you to do things. And that was the game that Epstein was playing. Epstein, he compromised a hell of a lot of people. Okay. He really did, and then in the end, of course, that was his undoing. Well, no, sorry, that wasn't his undoing. His undoing was the fact that there was now a criminal case against him that was actually being prosecuted, which was something completely unheard of. But there it was, and he couldn't get out of it. And I think he knew that very well. That was it. I mean, what are you gonna do? But I don't think that any of the information is gone, Dave. I very much think that whoever his ultimate handlers were have all of that information, and it's power.
There was communications that someone who knew that the tapes existed went to collect them to the island. So
yeah,
I don't know who that is, but there was this word that happened, and it was before the authorities went and seized everything. So if someone's sitting on it, that's their protection. That is absolutely how you would protect yourself in this environment.
Completely right. So Ghislaine, she saw what to Epstein. She's not stupid. I mean, none of these people are stupid. People make the mistake of thinking that clearly they're stupid. No, these are smart people, but they couldn't do what they do, or couldn't have done it for so long in the circles they moved in if they weren't, exceedingly smart. So let's not underestimate these people. Let's not do that, okay? They're smart. So what does that mean? That means she has some assurances or insurances, I should say, maybe, letters, files, etc., right, to protect herself that might be released if something were to happen to her. Something that Jeffrey clearly didn't, or if he did have it, right, they got to it first somehow.
Yeah.
So this is, or maybe this is the thing. Maybe he was so arrogant that he thought he truly was untouchable, right? But the writing was on the wall, at least for the people that knew, and they said, look, he's too much of a liability. But in his mind, he was, this is going to blow over. It blew over all the time before as well.
Yeah.
He was under investigation before. He got a sweetheart deal with the Florida Police Department, which nobody ever got. Yeah. I mean, this is unheard of stuff, right? And so. And plus, he had, still friends and powerful friends in high places, etc., etc. So he probably thought, I don't need insurance policy. I'm good. And if he was in fact an actor for a foreign intelligence agency or otherwise, then his safety would have been secondary to the mission.
Yeah.
Okay, just to be very clear. So because once this is all made public, make no mistake, it becomes useless information to the Mossad or whoever.
Mm-hmm.
Because if it's out there, then it's like what Assange did. I mean, it's out there now, right?
It disarms everybody's weight
completely, right? So there's nothing further to be said about it.
Yeah,
nothing,
that's right.
Nothing. So look, I really want to see what happens to her. But like I said, my gut feel is that she's going to be acquitted. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Or some other stuff. Or some other stuff will come to light.
Where can you find someone who hasn't visited the island? Where can you find someone to run the case where it's, if you ran it in a neutral country, with people who didn't have any money, it might turn out differently. I think there's for the defense to rest. That is just crazy. So
I know.
early. Yeah.
And interestingly, like you said, though, she couldn't be cross-examined. She refused
right.
to speak up in her own defense. Now, does the state get to talk? Like, is the case over now? Or do we now hear the state's case, or is that all finished as well?
I don't know.
I don't know either. So because I mean, I would call it to the stand if I was prosecutor. I'd definitely call it to the stand, right? I mean, you want to pitch her out. That's really what you want to do. And the thing is this. You couldn't have been. I mean, okay. So first of all, Epstein clearly was facing these charges, and everybody thought, okay, well, this is a pretty good case. We can win this case, because the thing is this: in America, especially, the legal profession that works for the state or the government doesn't want to bring cases they can't win.
That's right.
Okay, because that looks bad on their resume. It's bad for the career. So they only bring cases, for the most part, that are winnable. So clearly they thought, okay, we got enough dirt on Epstein, we can actually prosecute. And now they're thinking, okay, well, we actually have enough dirt on Maxwell, we can prosecute. All right? So that's really the thinking here.
We'll have to see how this still pans out.
Look, absolutely. I mean, I watched a lot of documentaries on this. I did a lot of my own research as well. I followed some of the movements and how he started out, and on it goes. There's a lot in there, and this is we've only really scratched the surface here. I mean, this goes so deep. It's not even funny. We are in the midst of revelations potentially that would rival what Assange published, because these are people that you just, I mean, Prince Andrew. You go, what? And I've seen the interviews with eyewitnesses that worked on the island. These are people that worked in the house, the servants, etc., the butler, or the gardener, even, right? People that worked on the planes.
And there's other visitors that had attended who have also given depositions. Yeah,
and then not only that, right? I mean, there's stories that, I mean, so people talk about 16-year-old girls and 17-year-old girls, which in the States they're still considered minors, right? But the interviews with some of the witnesses speak of girls much younger, right? So, and it's, you know, what do you say to that? It's an interesting situation at the moment. I really am curious to see how it's unfolding. But we are in the midst of the tightening of the iron fist.
Oh yes.
Okay. We are right now. We're seeing it. Everything that has happened. Oh, look! It started in anger in 2001. That's when it started in anger. When the timeline was moved up significantly. I mean, it was amazing how things changed overnight after that terrible incident in New York.
Yes.
And ever since then, we've seen a stepping up of timelines. In fact, we're now living in a world. Because I thought we reached the pinnacle of ridiculousness with George W. Bush Jr. and Tony Blair and John Howard. I thought it can't get any funnier, right? And yet here we are.
And yet
here we are. You know, Boris Johnson, and Joe Biden and our little Scotty for marketing and other leaders in the world. I mean, there's still some good leaders. Don't get me wrong, right? But you look at the vast majority of these things and all the things that are happening. You're really shaking your head. You're thinking, and I'm with Up, by the way. Up just said I don't like this timeline much. Yeah, no. Neither do I. I don't very much like it. But Dave, I haven't experienced any slips recently, so hopefully it's working out for you.
I'll slap you with my motor glove.
I know you will.
Wow.
But it is certainly coming to a head very, very soon because. Okay, so why? What we're seeing right now is this Omicron, and I love what Mitchell Bubb calls this because it's actually an anagram for moronic. Omicron is an anagram for moronic. He calls it the moronic virus, which I think is funny.
There was also another one where Omicron and another word ended up with media control.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice. I love it. We are seeing what we're seeing here is massive infection rates again, well, that's what the media says anyway, which is leading, making a lot of countries go into massive or really strict lockdowns. I mean, the Dutch are locking down hard, and a lot of countries don't let the UK travel in anymore. So a lot of UK citizens aren't allowed to travel to a whole bunch of other countries. And what we're seeing is, I mean, at least the official figures, if you follow those, we're seeing infection rates spiking yet again to the same level as we had back in July, and then as we had back in November 2020. The death rate is lower, at least the reported death rate, right? And for whatever reason. But the point is that Delta Omicron media control, that's right. But the point is that we're seeing further and further lockdowns down the road, I think.
Well, the Netherlands have just gone into lockdown.
Yeah, correct. That's right. They were the ones that in a very, very, very tight controlled
England,
lockdown.
The UK is now 25,000 new cases a day.
Correct.
And
again,
we're at 2,500.
Yeah, but the projection for Australia.
Yeah, 50.
It's 25,000 a day in January.
Yeah, that's right.
So look, but the point I'm trying to make though is that these lockdowns are going to come and people need to protest them because because it'll just keep on rolling, guys. It'll just keep on rolling and rolling and rolling and rolling.
We make the virus run out of hosts.
Well, that's pretty much it. And herd immunity is not a thing.
No.
For this, ever. And Joe Biden, in fact, said this. Oh, you should get vaccinated to protect everybody else. Well, you're not. You're protecting yourself, which is a good thing,
that's
right?
Exactly right.
So they say, at least. I mean, look, you take the vaccine or not, up to you. But my point is, what they're saying is, what the politicians are saying is not what the doctors or scientists are saying.
Except for Brad Hazard this week, Mackie.
Yes, he's the New South Wales health minister.
He's
correct.
the only one who said what we say, and that is the vaccine is a control vaccine and not an elimination vaccine.
Correct.
So you still get the virus, you still pass it on. The effects are just less with you. That's it.
Yes, correct.
That's all it does.
Correct. And that's why people will still get sick. I mean, it doesn't matter if we could be at 100% vaccination.
Yeah.
The virus will still
like
spread.
The cruise ship.
Yeah.
Did you see that? 100% of the staff and passengers were all double vaxxed, and they had an outbreak on board of the Delta strain. Yeah,
and it will keep on happening and happening.
No,
and
right.
See, this is much better than the war on terror, Dave. War on terror. So the war. First, there was the war on drugs, right? I mean, there were other wars before, but the war on drugs. That was great, but it's limited, and you don't have too many enemies there. The war on terror was awesome. We're going to spend a whole bunch of money, and it will never end. It's just brilliant.
Weapons manufacturers were starting to demo their brand new weapons.
And you know what? It's unwinnable. I mean, who are we even fighting? It doesn't matter. It's terror. We're fighting a concept.
And the war on terror went for 20 years on.
It hasn't finished yet. It hasn't finished. But you're right. But you're right, though. 20 years in Afghanistan, etc. Right?
Good
so
value.
Now this. But this new thing, they're not calling it the war on the virus quite yet. Mm. But this pandemic that we're all living under now, this is the platform for unequaled and unparalleled
change.
And unseen change and control measures. Because the thing is this, these days, is there an Omicron virus? Well, we believe it because they tell us. Is there the next virus comes out and then another virus, another variant? And by the way, there was an article in a science publication this week that I read, which said a bacterium, not a bacterium, a microorganism. Yeah. So this is a multicellular organism, right? Revived after 25,000 years in the ice.
Yes.
25,000 years frozen, and hey, baby, I'm back.
I'm back.
So there are viruses out there, bacteria, other pathogens, other
just
multicellular.
Thaw.
Yeah, and I mean, we haven't seen these in tens of thousands of years potentially, right? So and this is going to get potentially worse because we are seeing a warming. And I don't know if you don't believe in that the climate is changing. That's cool. The climate, by the way, is changing all the time, over time, right? You've got weather, which is happening every day and every week and every month. And then you've got the long-term trends. And we know that over the long term, the climate is changing. There's nothing new to it.
And guess what?
It's
returning back to the non-glacial period.
Yeah, that's right. And you can argue who's responsible. I mean, as far as I'm concerned, it doesn't actually matter, right? Because number one, let's say humans are responsible, for argument's sake. Right? I'm not saying they are, but let's say they are, right? It's completely irrelevant. Why? Because we neither have the will, nor the motivation, nor even the technology to do anything about it. And in fact, not only that, it is, even if we wanted to do something about it, it's way too late. if it were our fault, that ship has sailed.
Yeah.
There's nothing to be done. The dominoes are falling, right? So stop arguing about who's at fault. Stop arguing about all this carbon credit bullshit. Pardon my French, I shouldn't say that. But it's really not necessary to argue about it anymore, because it's happening and it's irrelevant who is responsible. And we shouldn't all drive Teslas either, Dave. Why? Because the electricity, where does the electricity come from for your Tesla battery? Most likely from a coal-fired power plant.
That's correct.
That's right. So unless we all move into we all stop consuming and we move into completely clean power, which is, by the way, impossible, because you still have to make solar panels and you still have to make wind turbines and all that, and all of these things.
The net zero thing is completely ludicrous.
It's
you have
nonsense.
to offset it by carbon capture and carbon storage.
Could we live better lives? Yes, but the problem here is that we're living in a Harvard School of Economics driven economy, which is an economy of unlimited growth. Now, an economy of unlimited growth
with
in a finite
lending.
Unlimited lending, yeah. In a system of finite resources is complete lunacy.
That's right.
You cannot have infinite growth in a limited system, which is what we have. We have, unless we start in anger now exploring the asteroids, the other planets for resources, etc. We have very limited resources, right? So if space,
how do you bring the resources down, Mackie?
We just rain them on the Earth. Just rain it down.
Yeah, so you let the asteroid, you tow it into Earth's atmosphere, right?
Yeah, you would tow it into low Earth orbit.
Yeah,
and you have at the Lagrange points, you would have the Lagrange points are stationary. If you put something in space at a Lagrange point, it doesn't move. And I think there are 5 Lagrange points between the Earth and the Moon.
Yeah, it's still far away, but
yeah. Well, it is far away, but I spoke to a leading scientist in the government. I want to say about 3 years ago. I was in Canberra for a client meeting, and he was one of the chief scientists, and we hit it off. He was actually his specialty was gravity waves, right? So that's actually his he's an astrophysicist, and we started talking, and he goes to me, you know what? I said, what? How long do you think till we get a space elevator? I said, I don't know. We need the right materials, materials that have enough structural integrity not to collapse under their own weight. And he goes, yes, very good. He said, at the end of the decade. I said, really? Really? And he said, yep, by the end of the decade, there will be space elevator. Now, that's phenomenal, right? And this is coming from one of the chief scientists in Australia, I guess, for the government. So I'll listen, right? I'll listen. And it's interesting. But look, there's technology going forward. But just because we do all of these things doesn't mean we're going to change our ways. Right? We haven't really. We are playing with nuclear energy, Dave. We're going into space, and we still kill each other like it's going out of fashion.
The only way I see this happening is through the WF's Great Reset program.
Oh,
wait. So that enough of us are sourcing locally, which is their plan, working locally. And not commuting, but rather working from home or locally. And if we do that, the reduction in what we have will mean that the morphing of those companies that used to supply all that has to change into the new world way of operating. So the old stakeholder economy, Mackie, is who wants to stand up at the table and help change this planet into something. I'm not saying I'm a proponent of it, just telling you the facts. This is what's in their plan, and I don't believe that the people on the planet with the greatest amount of money are not going to do it.
Yeah. So my take on that is that the people that could make those changes and do these things don't, and the people that want to can't.
Yeah.
Right, and that's really the situation we're in, because And again, I
You
know
have
I've
to
said it before.
legislate to get this stuff done.
But you see, legislation is a national thing.
But,
right?
all of our politicians across the planet are just like Muppets. I mean,
Yes.
Jim
Yes.
Henson style,
Yes.
with their sponsors making
Yes.
the words come out their mouths.
Yes, and their hands up where the sun
That's
don't shine.
right.
Look,
Yeah, that's
look,
right.
and but that's the problem ultimately, right? We're living in a non-representative form of government,
Yep.
which is anything but democratic. It's a feudal system in all but name. A lot of people in the world, and we're talking hundreds of millions, are completely disenfranchised. The people that are potentially in a position to think about this and do something about it aren't interested because they're quite happy with their lives. Thank you very much. No, I don't want to think about that, Mackie. That's too hard. Oh, why do you tell me this? This now makes me worry. I can't. I'm gonna watch my reality TV shows. I'm gonna think about this stuff. Stop it. And then the people that could actually affect change. Actually, like I mean, Tesla said, "I want to go to Mars," so he just builds these rockets and blows them up, right? Blows them up. It's great. But
he will go to Mars.
Look, we're already on Mars, but yes, he will. But the thing is, he people like him that aren't necessarily part of the parasitic class, and I'm not saying he is, right? And I don't think he is, but that's neither here nor there. They don't. The people. They don't. There's too much self-interest. I mean, how many billions of dollars can you sensibly own, and what do you do with it? Well, I will own all the billions, Pepsi. But it is morally, we are morally bankrupt. We're ethically we've ethically suicided.
Yeah.
Because we allow this world to happen the way it is, and India. I know. Look,
you can 3D print a suicide machine now, apparently.
Yeah, I did a whole bunch. I did a whole.
Really?
I did a whole segment on that. Yeah. Well,
Mecky, that's on Mecky's other show.
Yeah, but you're right.
Plato's Cave.
There's now a suicide pod available in Switzerland, which gently lets you drift off to sleep by replacing
inducing nitrogen.
Oxygen. Bingo, 100%, my friend. It's Switzerland, and it's going to go into production next year. Because that's what we need. That's the one thing missing in this world, Dave. Has been a suicide pod. That's the one thing that we can't do without. What?
Yeah. Well, yeah. Be as flabbergasted as required.
I mean, look, we can no longer allow billionaires to exist. We can't. So forget. See, the thing is, you never know the real rich people. You don't know who's running. I mean,
that's right.
Look, you know the names, yeah, Rothschild.
Yeah.
But there are some. Okay. I don't know, man. I don't know. It's really. But where do we go from here, Dave? Where
we have 1 minute before we get to the top of the show.
That's where we're going.
Point. So I'd like to thank all of the listeners to stay listening as we traverse the bumpers at the top of the hour, and we'll be back right after this short break. And
perfect timing.
Do what you need to do, but I also suggest that you donate to the station. All right. Take care. And we'll see you in a minute. You're with Dave and Meckie's Shiny Side Out.